YouTube, what the crap is going on? HeirofCarthage back with some more Total War Rome 2 online commentary here from the replays. This is another battle that I fought in patch 9. You can see it as the Battle of Arse, or Arse, I guess, depending on how you want to pronounce it. The starting positions in this map are so screwy. Like, one person just gets an amazing advantage on the height, and the other person has to deal with it. And so I'm playing against the same guy that I played in my first replay video that I made the other day. And again, he was a fairly new player. I would never normally select the Briton or Iceni to play against the Seleucids, as I think it's suicide, at least in my hands. Maybe you all know how to handle it. But I decided this would be fun. It would help even the playing field for me to bring a faction that has some serious disadvantages to the Seleucids, so that's what I did. And anyway, over here I've got my I've got three Briton slingers, 3 Briton skirmishers, which are not all that good, but I brought them to deal with elephants. Their attack is really low, but it's all that the Iceni have access to. Is these their slingers are fairly cost effective. These Briton skirmishers aren't that good, but it's all they have, and they're cheap. I have 3 heroic riders, which are very expensive units. They now cost like 1,200 some odd talents, maybe 13, because they have the really good stats and they have the encourage ability. And then my main line here is composed of 5 spear bands, some of which have a few upgrades. So not much by way of infantry, pretty weak stuff. Just these guys wearing these cool pants that kind of look like, you know, prisoner pants. I'm glad they all color coordinated for the battle, though. I do have 1 Briton scout rider, which is somewhere. Yep, here's the Briton scout rider. I'm using it to scout out my opponent's position. What I can see right now is 4 thorax swordsmen. I can see 1 unit of skirmishers going back hidden there. He's got a unit of shield bearers here, which is a very strong hoplite unit. Very expensive too, not cost effective, I wouldn't think. He's got a unit of Median cav here, which is a heavy melee cav. Not quite as good as my heroic riders, though, that's for sure. But he does have 2 units of Indian armored elephants, the absolute tanks and destroyers of the ancient world. And you better believe after my last battle against the Indian elephants, I am plenty scared of those guys. Here, I was kind of taunting this Median cav, knowing that I could outrun it with my scout riders. And I was pretty sure that my scout riders had javelins to throw before they went into battle, but I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of Germanic scout riders. So what I did here was I turned around and I click a charge order here in a second. Yeah, right here, because I wanted to throw javelins and then run away. And so my guys get close, but then I have to turn around because I realize, man, they're not throwing javelins. And then that gives his Median cav the quick charge bonus downhill they need to catch me. So now I've got to try and run away and save my scout riders. And I was like, dadgummit, brilliant air. Just way to betray a whole bunch of your men right at the beginning of the battle. So, yeah, not the smartest thing to do. So I'm going to come back and scare him off with some of my heroic riders. He knows better than to stick around and fight these guys, so his Median cav's going to take off. But, man, they got the better of that situation. 20 kills for free. So I'm gonna have to try and position and skirmish so as to get my opponent's attention. And you'll notice that I'm shifting heavily to this flank, and I'm trying to get my opponent to position his army this way. And some of you may have already noticed in the background the reason for that. I had these ambushers hidden back here. I hid them behind this hill so that it would physically block his line of sight, even though these guys are pretty good at hiding. So ambushers are an interesting unit. They're a sword unit and a pretty good one, but they can get beat up pretty easily because they have no armor, which means I'm guessing their bracing ability is terrible. So the last thing you want is any kind of cav unit to get into these guys. You almost have to kind of treat them like skirmishers, and they act kind of like skirmishers. They have javelins, and they will actually just fire at will until you click a melee attack order. So again, these skirmishers are ambushers, or shock infantry, and they have javelins to support. So what I'm doing is running them in such a way you'll notice that the line of sight is going to keep me hidden. So I was studying the map basically to try and get behind my opponent right here, because the line of sight should keep my men hidden, and then the scrub and force will help me get into the back of them. And you can see me still maneuvering this way to try and get my opponent to turn his back to me, basically. Right now he still can't see any of these units, but trust me, I'm freaking scared, because I know one thing, I don't remember exactly where it's at, but I know he has an Agema cav somewhere back here. And it's going to be extremely dangerous to these ambushers, so this is a huge risk on my part. A huge risk. The Swabi have Night Hunters, which are a spear unit that can deploy like this. They're not as effective, though, at killing infantry. And right now, I actually think the Suebi are a huge disadvantage. I'll get a chance to discuss that eventually. I'll try and play as them. They made longbow hunters cheaper, which is nice, but longbow hunters still have terrible range. And the only good sword unit the Suebi have access to is Swordmasters, which are now extremely expensive because they have the Encourage ability. So the Suebi kind of have their work cut out for them right now. They do have the really good general abilities, but the problem is you can only afford so many sword units. It's going to be interesting to see what people try and do with them. So his Median Cav gets too close, and I decide to run it down with my Heroic Riders, and my Heroic Riders will absolutely slay this Median Cav. Won't even be close. So yeah, you can see him putting these guys down relatively quick, but here comes my Fear, which is his infantry and other elephants and other units that can come into support, and sure enough, his elephants are on the way. I do get my slingers to try and take some flank shots, but the woods are giving him some pretty good cover for my slingers, so it's not going to end up being as effective as I would have liked. And look, his Indian armored elephants went ahead and used trample, and they're headed right into this fight, so I go ahead and pull out. Hopefully I'm going to waste his trample. Anyway, I'm going to pull back and try and draw his elephants in closer to my spears. My spears have a bonus versus elephants, but look at the attack on these guys. I mean, really, it's just the best I can do to try and hope to pin them down while my Briton skirmishers can do something. And I am moving my Briton skirmishers this way. You can see me rearranging my spears. My opponent decides to call off this charge, which is great, because now he used up his trample, and his elephants are going to start getting tired. My skirmishers are now hidden in the my ambushers are now up on this hill. These guys have great stamina. Check them out. They've been running all this time, and they're still doing good. And so I am able to get close to my opponent back here. I can't see any cav units still at the moment, but I haven't seen an Agema cav come out of this forest. I'm still extremely worried, but I have to go ahead and push this, because otherwise my opponent's going to crush me over here eventually. So his elephants go ahead and commit. I bring up my Briton skirmishers, but he charges him with his Median cav, and I was like, crap, because I got to get shots on these elephants. Fortunately for me, he pulled that Median cav out for some reason. No idea why he did that. But it gives me a chance to react with my spear band to try and absorb this elephant charge and to get my skirmishers to safety. And then that also allowed me to try and countercharge with all of my heroic riders. This is not exactly the kind of fight I want to see him in, but at least they can maybe pin these elephants down for a second. And these guys are stuck for the moment, and I'm just going to start unleashing hails of javelins into here. And it seems like javelins are really the only unit that can cause quick damage on armored elephants. Now back here, check it out. One of my ambushers came out of hiding. I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't see me. Hope he doesn't see me. Hope he doesn't see me. And then I was trying to click attack orders with my ambushers, but I realized that I have to put them into melee mode. I should have done it at the beginning of the battle. So they're moving up, and again, over here I'm still just trying to take out his elephants, which I did run that unit amok. There's another new unit of elephants coming in, though, that it's kind of having fun trampling my spear band. So my spear band are elephant bait. And then check it out, my opponent sees me and charges before I could really figure out how to get an attack order quick. These guys also have a skirmish mode, and I was like, crap! So they started running away, took a back charge. So this is terrible. This is not what I need. My ambushers are getting destroyed by a Median cav, and I was just like, no! I knew this was risky to begin with, but it was devastating to see this happen. Check out the enemy general here. I think it's the general. There he goes. So finally killed the enemy general. There's another unit of armored elephants though. I think there's another unit of armored elephants. I may have killed it though. Anyway, so my ambushers finally get into the back of his infantry, and finally my ambushers can do something useful. Look at these guys just racking up the kills. They've already killed 52 of these thorax swordsmen and Thurios spears. My ambushers will do very well against these units, but this Median cav has wrecked 2 units of my ambushers now, and I'm in bad shape as far as that's concerned. This ambusher did get into his Agema cav without it charging, but still taking a lot of losses because ambushers aren't really suited for fighting cav. Now I'm going to try and push these spears up. So what I'm going to do is take these spears and try and get into the backs of these infantry that are now pinned with my ambushers. I didn't coordinate this as well as I should have. But I have a problem out here too. I've got a shield bearer that's cutting through the spear band and chasing my cav, and I don't really have a whole lot of answers to that shield bearer other than these Briton skirmishers. So here in a minute, I'm pretty sure I trained my fire over to the shield bearer. And look at my ambushers though, just ripping through these thorax swordsmen and other units. This unit I didn't realize it was free. I should have charged it right here into the back of these guys. And then over here, my spears have pinned down these 3 thorax swordsmen. This is a fight my spears will not win, though, so I badly need this unit of ambushers right here. but I was trying to micromanage elsewhere, and I'm just doing a pretty poor job, to be honest, and I'm pretty sure to myself, at least, that I've lost this battle. I'm trying to get my general away from his shield bearer, so there's my my javelin men, but that shield bearer is all spread out, and so my javelin men aren't doing all that good. And then one of my ambushers starts to get routed right here, which is bad. One of my ambushers did come back from routing, so hopefully I can keep his cav busy. And then up here my spears were getting destroyed, but finally got this ambusher into the back of his men. This unit already over 100 kills there, and an ambusher's not a real expensive unit. 174 kills on that ambusher. And I got my heroic riders into these thorax swords. My heroic riders will actually do fairly well against thorax swordsmen. Over here I was hoping that my javelin men and general could take out these shield bearers, but I highly underestimated these shield bearers, and these guys are going to kill every last one of my javelin men and my general. So huge mistake again. I do have some skirmishers left, and I am running out of infantry quickly though. Look at my heroic riders over here, doing well at just holding all these swords. And then over here I've got some ambushers and heroic riders as well into his Agema Cav and his thorax swords. Very, very desperate fight for me at this point. These ambushers back here routed, but they also did manage to kill most of his Median Cav, so these guys were able to get killed twice by the same Cav unit. Hope they enjoyed it. I do have a very good surround going on in these thorax swordsmen though. My opponent does leave his thorax swords in formation attack though, and this is going to make them last a whole lot longer. But right here, he clicks an attack order, I think, towards my skirmishers. Yeah, he does. And that's really may have helped me start to turn this battle, because by running through me like that, his guys are going to take unnecessary losses. So you can see a bunch of his guys dropping there. So they would have held in that fight, and when he started doing this, I'm like, I started to chase him. Then I was like, oh man, no way, I'm just going to go support this fight here, and then I'll just take my skirmishers and lure my opponent's swordsman back out to here. And then I can start to split up like this, and his swordsman will start getting picked off. So my opponent should not have pulled out of that fight. He basically just gave me the ability to try and turn this battle. So I'm going to do my best to turn it. My heroic riders held this entire time against these thorax swords, and then now they're finally going to get reinforced by all these spear band. So my spear band get into the back of these thorax swords, and then I have an ambusher that I took up into this fight here. So I got the ambushers up there against the Agema Cav. Pulls out his thorax swords again to try and get away. Look at his shield bearer, just finished mopping up all my units. Still has 95 men and 258 kills. So I trashed on them not being cost effective, but in this battle, I helped them be cost effective because I threw 3 units of skirmishers, which were out of ammo at the time though, and my general in there. So these guys killed like 2,000 talents worth of units. Typically though, you're probably not going to have those end up being cost effective. Got my heroic riders maneuvering around here, and check it out, his thorax swords got picked to bits. They definitely shouldn't have followed my skirmishers, and I had another spear band come back from routing. So I get my heroic riders into the back of his thorax swords, and that's pretty much going to do it, folks. Exciting game, really. I did a very risky strategy. I didn't manage it that well, but fortunately for me, my opponent's mistakes allowed me to keep this battle alive for me. And here I think the final units go ahead and start routing. It's a shield bearer unit. Yep. So these guys go ahead and rout, and that's going to be the end of that battle. So a crazy win for Iceni, but managed to pull it off. There's the stats and the unit stats if you're interested in that. Look at my slingers. Didn't get many kills because of that forest. My javelins didn't get a whole lot of kills either, but they did manage to take down the elephants. And if you look, that's the biggest reason why I won this battle. Those Indian armored elephants cost upwards of 1,300 talents each, and so my opponent had sunk 2,600 talents out of his 11,700, I think, for large, and they didn't do anything. So that was very fortunate for me. And if you look at my skirmishers, those guys were mostly, I think they were under 700 talents, and with 3 of them racking up over 100 kills, one of them almost 200 kills. You can see the 2 that got hit by the Median Cav, though, that were completely nullified. And really, my Noble Cav saved me as well. These 2 units of heroic riders saved me, not Noble Cav. So, good game to my opponent. I hope you all enjoyed it. Man, look at the chevronage he had on that shield bearer. No wonder those guys weren't breaking. Anyway, like I said, good game. Hope to my opponent. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'll be back with more soon.